I'll start where I left off with Jesus teaching about why people are blessed for what they do when they obey our Creator. This will be part 12 of Matthew, and this is the text that was at the end of the last video, just for a reminder, and because we're still going to be talking about a light. I wanted to make sure that we get that far. Okay. When Jesus is saying, let your light shine before man, meaning your righteousness shine before man. You should be showing that you are a believer of, we have a creator. And to do that in front of other people is what Jesus is saying. Do this. That way they can learn more or less from you. That they see your good works and they have the word glorify, okay? Glorify your Father who is in heaven. You can't glorify our Creator. Can't do a thing like that. The best we can do is honor and respect our Creator at all times. So to correct this verse, first we need to go with man, not men, and then add the word that. And because, well, I didn't really add the word that. You can see I just stole it from right here. But that they see your good works as you honor our Father in heaven. Now, these are what a lot of the things that we've been going over here is saying what to do, but now it's he wants you to not shy away from when somebody talks to you or asks you, why do you do these things? So let them observe you and let them understand that you are walking always before our Creator. Then Jesus says here, now he's changing from a teaching about the blessings from that you receive for obeying our Creator. It kind of doesn't change chapters. He just starts saying these words, which is, I know when you're reading, sometimes you back up like, what just happened from what I was just thinking. And he starts out, do not think I came to abolish law or prophets or the prophets. I don't need these words. And a believer does not think these things either anyways. So these words aren't needed. But Jesus came, and you can see I've got the word came, meaning that our Creator sent him. To not to abolish his laws, needed to add the word S or letter S here, but fulfill them, because a prophet don't need this. They're kind of referring to as if the prophet is doing this on his own. A prophet isn't a prophet until our Creator has given him something to do and then relate it to the people. And it's not coming from the prophet. It's coming from our Creator. So you can't abolish what the prophets are saying, because if you abolish what they're saying, you're actually abolishing our Creator's words. But here, Jesus is teaching that the laws, but he is to fulfill them. I came not to abolish his laws, but fulfill them. This could be his commands here. It really could be, because I've said this before, there's statutes, there's commandments, and then there's laws. There's many things that our Creator commanded that Jesus is to be fulfilled. Example, when the priest had to be anointed before they become a priest to serve inside the courtyard of the house or tent, they had to be anointed. So that's kind of like his laws. It's also a requirement. I mean, it's a command. So the word laws is being loosely used here. It might get changed later, but I just want you to be aware of what Jesus is saying here. But he's going to fulfill all the laws, command. Yeah, I even want to say commanded by our Creator. So that word will be looked at again, but the object is I can move on to the next verse and say that this is truthful, and then just maybe say that word's in question. Could be better edited by me. As you can see here, I needed to remove this. Truly I say, heaven and earth will pass away. They didn't have the word will here. It says heaven and earth pass away. You need the word will here, okay? Will pass away, meaning this has no capital letter, which means our heaven, okay? Our heaven, not the stars, not his heaven, but third heaven, our heaven. That goes with the earth, will pass away, okay? But not the smallest letter or stroke will pass away from his laws, and all or everything will be accomplished. Well, this does not need to be here at all. It's added words that are, Jesus up here is going to fulfill them, okay? And he's also saying here, the earth and heaven will pass away, but not the smallest letter or stroke will pass from his laws. Now, they have removed a lot of text from the given word that we have today. So here, even though I'm leaving it as this, I have to be truthful with you. I'm not trying to make Jesus a liar here, but I'm thinking up here that all the things that I've been going back and forth with fulfilling or making our Creator's promises as truthful and true as I can. This is the sum of all his laws, okay? It's kind of like all his promises as well. That's why I titled the message from our Creator as YHVH'S everlasting promises. And the sum of those is what I'm pretty sure the text is referring here. So I know they've corrupted the text. I know what they've done at a lot of places, but I don't know what is actually they threw out, okay? A good example is when I keep referring to when they needed to be forgiven, to stay within the kingdom and not get kicked out. I'm pretty sure that was in the text, but they've removed it because I can't go and point to a place that says, if our Creator does not forgive them, what happens to them? Okay. A repeated offense our Creator didn't put up with. Okay. So there's many stories of different kings doing things, and our Creator just went and corrected them and kind of, don't do that again, don't do this, do it this way. When I say something, do it, type of thing. So he also punishes people for not obeying the 12 commandments. So there are many reasons why I have the understanding that they would have been sent away from the nation, okay? Or he had them killed, Okay, plain and simple. There's only two ways. Either they're in the nation or they're out of the nation, one way or the other. And I'm really believing this is what it meant when it's talking about his laws here. Like I said, the words aren't polished off yet, but they need to be first cleaned up and then re-examined again. You can see I used a lot of correction here. And it talks about annuls, which actually is the word removes, one of his commands. See, that commandments. We already know they removed two of them. And they really didn't remove them. When we found them, there are 12. So the thing here is let me put that up. Okay. You can see there's 12 commandments. But the thing here is when you look at the Hebrew side of the text, you'll see that they didn't have like a number 12, 13, or 14 as one word. They would write it 10 and 2, 10 and 4, 10 and so on, or 20 and 3. But the object here is they removed the word 2, and so when you search the word 10 in the Bible, you'll find 2 times that the word 10 is there as related to 10 commandments. But when you study the text and look at and try to see, like what I showed you is when I looked at the text, it shows that there's 12 there. So whoever removes one of his commands, or they said commandments, I'm talking about everything he commanded. You can't have our Creator saying one time, I command you to do this, and then years later, 100 years later, he's not commanding you to keep doing the same thing. So it has to be everything. It just can't be the word commandments. So I left it as commands and not commandments. But you do know that they did take out the word to have it 10. And so it's a warning that don't play with the text. Don't go through and think you know the text well enough to throw out verses without making sure you know what the text is. Example, when I've told you to please take these Gospels and work on them and do the text, I'm not really saying remove them. You can see that I'm editing and bringing them lower, making them smaller. And that's easy because a macro, I can take them all out and then I can read the text later. But by doing these type of editing, this you should probably leave in your text and then just try to write the newer verse like I'm doing here, clean up the verse, then put it here so you have something to go back to say that maybe I did make a mistake. I've learned from our Creator that this needs to be this way, and these words are here. So when Jesus is giving a warning that removes one of his commands, I'm well aware of what I'm doing, and I have these as historical records for myself that I refer back to a lot of the time as well. Then teaches another. That would be something like what the Catholic Church does so blatantly, what Jesus is saying here. Example, commands. He commanded the priests to be married so their sons can carry on the priesthood. Catholic Church says, no, Creator, you're wrong. We're doing it this way. That's who you're listening to. They overruled our Creator. So what Jesus is saying, it's kind of like they will be called least, be in my kingdom. Jesus don't want them in the kingdom. So They aren't in the kingdom. They're not there, okay? Plain and simple. They ain't going to be there because the text above it, Jesus is referring to, well, I guess it's not above it. There's, like I said, this teaching Jesus does about blasphemy, speaking about against our Creator. So here, these would be going against our Creator. Why would you allow someone into heaven that's against our Creator's commands or what He's teaching us to live by, so we can enter into heaven? And they're changing it for what they want it to mean, for them to be a leader, for you to give them your money, and them to become rich and you to become ignorant. Okay, wake up out there. And it will be in His kingdom in heaven again. And then don't need the word he here, because I was saying that who's against our Creator doesn't get to go to heaven. But whoever keeps and teaches them will be in my kingdom of heaven. When it says it will be called great, and I remove that. We're all equal because we are in heaven. Jesus refers later to, even though John is the greatest prophet, he is still equal to all other people in the kingdom, in his kingdom. Just to let you know that Jesus doesn't have that self-egoness of thinking someone is greater than another. That isn't what Jesus teaches. Neither does our Creator teach that. We're all equal because we're all made by our Creator. But those that go into heaven, those are already rewarded or told that that's because you're obeying our Creator. So whoever removes one of His commands, then teaches another, will not be in my kingdom in heaven, Jesus' kingdom. And this is one of those times, like I said, where I'm using two colors in one word. And this is because the kingdom is coming from our Creator, and Jesus is Jesus's kingdom, though. Okay. So when you see text like that, you got to understand, our Creator gave him these things. Okay. Or even gave us these things when you read the text. But whoever keeps and teaches them will be in my kingdom in heaven. Okay, here's the verse that I put up and try to tell you that this is the text that you should be obeying. It starts off by saying, I say unto you, or I say to you that. Those words aren't needed. He's just continually talking from here, and he says, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees. Okay, see how the word Pharisees here is used as the word judges, or someone of importance with inside of the authority to have over the text. Okay, because it has scribes, and scribes refers to what is written. So the judges, Pharisees, if you remember, if we put the word judges here, really doesn't need to be put here because they're just trying to reinforce what the scribes have done. So we can get rid of the Pharisees because they're following the scribes. Okay. So it's not real, they're not needed. And then again, my kingdom in heaven. So unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes, you will not enter my kingdom in heaven. Okay? That is an order from Jesus. Okay. Oh, that's what I done last time. This is what we're doing right here. We've done this right here, cleaned the text up. So that's what I just went over. And then it's only 20 minutes. So let's continue. when it says here, well, maybe I should slide that over a little bit more. Okay. It starts out here, you have heard the ancients. There's no such thing as ancients in Hebrew text because they know there was a great flood. So if it's ancients, they would have to be talking about before flood. Well, we don't have that text. They didn't put it into the Hebrew text, but it is mentioned the people before Adam and Eve. We don't have their records. And it was not the ancients who told you, do not murder. Whoever commits murder is liable in court. They didn't have courts at that time, so the ancients wouldn't have been saying that type of thing to begin with. So you have heard his commandment. Do not murder is his commandment, okay? And it was you have heard his commandment. You will not commit murder. The word commit does not need to be around. Just get rid of the word commit. Murder. The word willingly has to be added here. Has to be. Now, well, let me clean this up because this will go to what I'm going to be talking about here. But whoever does murder will be liable or will be subject to the law, not the court, but the law. One of the first things our Creator did or told them to do when they went in after they conquered the promised land was to put up refuge cities. And these cities were for every tribe's land. And in case of someone that murdered accidentally or not accidentally, could run to this refuge city and plead at the gate that I want to be heard before people, not by the crowd that's going to try to kill me because I'm innocent and they didn't listen to me. Then those people in that area, which would have been the Levites, would have been acting as judges and lawyers together. And it wasn't a really court. It was like a court, but it wasn't subject as like a lawyer standing there and say he's absolutely innocent. No, they were going to work all together to find out whether he's innocent or not. It's not that they had somebody already say, no, he's innocent and going to plead him not guilty. No, that doesn't happen back then. They're subject to the law, and the law is you will cannot commit murder is the commandment. So, but if it was, I have to add the word willingly because what happened is that when you read this commandment, you will not murder willingly. Then, if these people that investigated them and found out that, look, it was an accident, the best we can figure out that it was an accident. And what they were to do is to lead him back or her back to their place where they lived, tell the elders, tell the people, we have investigated it. And we are the ones telling you that it is an accident and not a murder. Because if it was murder, he was to be killed because that's what the law says. Because this is a commandment. There is another law that says that if you murder willingly, willingly, then you are to be killed. No question about it. In fact, anyone in that family could chase them down and kill them and be righteous about killing that person. So when it says not commit murder willingly, it wasn't murder when he went out and killed to fulfill the law, okay? But they had these places or these cities, refuge cities, to do this, that they would allow the person who had accidentally go back and live in the land. And then, because it's a commandment, You will not murder willingly, because if you murdered, but if it happened by accident, so that's why the word willingly has to be here, because he has to atone for this. Okay, you will not commit murder. It's a sin, but what it is if you did commit murder, then you were to be killed. But because it's a commandment, you can make a sin offering. So it has to be an accident murder, an accident killing. So that's why I have to add the word willing. And that is what's so important. You have to understand that they had these refuge cities, and what they did would take the person back and saying he didn't do it willingly, but now he has to make an offering before our Creator, because it wasn't willingly that he killed somebody. I'm hoping I'm pounding that in to understand what goes on at that time, and then the commandment, and then there's the law. Like I said, there's a lot of text that has to be understood when you're correcting a verse. And to add the word willingly, I know that's a big change to add it to the commandment, but to understand that because if you're not, you will not commit murder. And if you've done it accidentally, how are you, or if you not commit murder, it's what happens if you do it accidentally is the way I'm seeing it, that it has to be able to be atoned for. Okay, so you have to have the word willingly. You can't have a commandment that doesn't not murder without the word willingly. It just because accidents do happen. But whoever does murder, and that's because it's not commit. Commit means there was an intent to do it. So I'm trying to get rid of the word intent of the commits to more or less the word does murder accidentally, will be subject to the law, which I just described, that he will be killed if he did commit murder. But if it was accidental, he has to now be placed back in his area where he's from, or the land he was given as an inheritance, or her inheritance. Then it was to make a sin offering. This is completely going to be thrown out. Okay. This text is not needed at all. I say to you, everyone who is angry with his brother will be guilty before the court. I just described what the refuge city was about. They were there to handle this case of murder, not so much of everybody's complaint against each other. But those courts did try to handle them. The way I know the text goes, that if there's an argument among the people, the elders are supposed to first come in and they tell them the rules and the laws that they know about, and they settle it there. If not, there are Levites there among the people that they can go to ask, and they would be priests out in the land, meaning that they're representatives that can go before our Creator, but they did not serve, but they could have served. So they are the ones that are supposed to be well aware of all the laws and be able to help guide the Israelis to follow every command by our Creator. So they would have been able to turn to the Levites in their area, and then if they couldn't decide, they would take them to those places, to refuge cities. But it's not really a refuge if you're just talking about being guilty before each other. It doesn't. Guilt against your brother is not something that you take to court. This word here just doesn't This just doesn't make any sense because everybody gets angry at their brothers. I mean, I don't know about you, but I worked with a group of, I think, over 2,000 people in a building. And yes, you would get arguments and things like that. But the object is that most of the time, because we were in business, you to forget the argument and get on with it is the correct way to move. To hold on to this and that is not good. So this here is who is angry against their brother will be guilty before the court. You don't go to the courts for this. You don't do that. Maybe I overtalked that. I'm pretty sure I did, but that's the part of the video that I don't want to go and re-edit out if I was to do this separate. I would probably re-go over this a little bit, but just know that you don't go to court for being angry over one being guilty. And whoever says to his brother Raka, big deal. I don't give a crap who Raka is or what Raka is supposed to be. In fact, that would be interesting right now to see what happens to the word Raka here. And it would be, okay, let me do look here. Nope, not that one. Maybe go to this one. And then we'll 5. Look here. Let's see. Try to read it off the screen here and not Raka. Over here. See, they don't even try to define this word. But the other, but that expression of contempt. But yeah, nope. That's just no. We don't need that. Will be guilty before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is going to hear whether you're guilty or not. No, let's not make Jesus look like a fool when he's talking. This text will just be cut out altogether. And here they're even trying to correct this verse enough to go into fiery hell. Oh, sorry, but hell doesn't exist until after Judgment Day. So the thing here is Jesus will definitely know that because the one who's holding a grudge as a guilt against his brother is going, no, it's about not obeying our Creator. It's not about you and me against each other. It's all about our relationship between us and our Creator. So this verse is just gone and tossed out. Same thing with this one here. Who presenting your offering at the altar. Nobody goes into the courtyard to do an offering. That's why we have priests, and nobody, and even a lot of Levites never made it into the courtyard. You got to realize there's only 13 priests, one for each tribe, one for all Israel. He would be called the high priest, and the king would be pretty much using him as to do an offering or such as a peace offering to ask for peace and things like this. So there is no offering that you can present on the altar, okay? You can't even get in the courtyard. So there's these 13 men, and then there's the assistants that are with them to help them perform their duties. Would you have 2 assistants per priest? I can imagine that. Yeah, it depends. It depends on how much is being people are coming that they would probably even adjust. So they would probably even had a fallback list of people or men to come in and do the assistant work. But you or anybody else cannot just walk in. Jesus would know this. If you are presenting your offering on the altar, that's just a complete lie. Okay, we don't want Jesus lying. Um, yep. Leave your offering there before the altar. No, this is just another complete lie. You can't get in there. We're not going to leave Jesus as a liar here. So Jesus lied 2 sentences in a row. And how many of you didn't cross that out in your Bible? I mean, when you read, are these things making sense to you that they shouldn't belong in the text? I mean, there's a lot to argue about in the text, but you got to understand that the good guys aren't not editing the text. I mean, read the 1611 preface sometime. I mean, they're all happy that the first emperor of Rome overruled our creator's calendar, and we still have the calendar today. You think that the so-called Catholic Church is supposed to be righteous. They agree with the pagan calendar and not our Creator's calendar. In fact, you should read their words, because they even have a clerk, and they give him the title, the divine. I've got a video down below, and I've got the PDF down below too as well. Here again, that this is just not truthful here. There's no opponent. You're in agreement with your neighbor or you're not, okay? And you can't go, your opponent just can't go and deliver you to a judge and say to the judge and officer, you will be thrown into prison. You have to go through, like I just got done saying, the elders. You take it to the elders. Then if the elders can't handle the Levites in the area, if not the Levites, then to the refuge city. Jesus would know this. And when you think that, well, Rome's under control and they don't have all that. No, you'll find in the text that Rome allowed Israelis to rule over Israelis in the 3 areas that have been pointed out that have governors over them. True, the text will say that, well, we can't kill anybody because they were saying, example, the high priest had the right to go in and talk to Pilate, had no problem coming through the door, didn't need permission so he could come back at a different time. When he rose, the Pilate would see him. And then they were talking about that we can't kill anybody. That means Rome limited them to killing people, okay? So that's where they came in and ruled. But they could present it, and if they were to say, okay, then they would be killed, then they would be killed. But the object here is the Romans did allow the Israelis to handle Israeli people, or let's put this way, because they were sinners there too, the Jews, over those that would have had descendants from Israel, okay? They ruled over the descendants from Israel, okay? And they were the bad guys that were put in power. Remember that. So this is just not something that is truthful and needs to be removed. Again, another verse. Here, this is very important that Jesus would know this, not to say this. That is because here they're going to throw you into prison, okay? And then down here, until you have paid up the last cent. Now, how can you be thrown into prison and get money to pay off, say a debt that you owe, that you borrowed and didn't return? Well, you have to understand that they had work prisons set up way back, probably from the beginning time they set up the refuge cities. And that was a place that they were taking people to, that say that one family needed seed to plant and then harvest, and then the promise, I will return maybe a third of my harvest to you when it comes up. And they had a bad season, didn't happen. Well, the guy wanted his money back, so they threw him into what's known as a work prison. The other people around there could go and say, I need help at this time harvesting this. So they could go to these work prisons, say, give me 2, 3, 5, 10 people, whatever. And whatever they were receiving as a set wage for a day's work, no matter what kind of work it was probably set up as a day's wage. In Jesus' time, it was 1 silver for a day's work. So whatever, it was a work prison where they would come out. And that's how, instead of giving that worker the money, they paid off the one that he owed to. And once that got up that they paid that debt off to, then they were free to go back to their land. Now there's another law that's called the year of Jubilee. Now that is at the end of the 7th year, every 7 years at the very end, the priest would blow out horns throughout the land, and that would be signaling that everybody is to be released of their debt. No matter if they owed $1 billion, they are free to go back to the land, and the debt is done with, and it's over. There is no more, because it's our Creator is showing them that if our Creator can forgive you for not listening to them, you could forgive your neighbor for not honoring what he says. So the thing here is Jesus would know about these work prisons, and you can't go to these things, and that's how it's set up. So this sentence is just not true. There's so much to be said here and to be corrected that it's more or less, it's out. And now that you know the way it's out, you'll probably understand that, oh yeah, I realize that's in the Hebrew text, but it's not in the 4 Gospels. Plain and simple. That's why you can't have an Old Testament and a New Testament. They're all one. They're all about our Creator's everlasting promises. There's no 2 different promises. Okay. Okay, here, you have heard you will not commit adultery. Okay. You have his commandment, you will not commit adultery. I had to add the word commandment because it is a commandment. Okay. Not that you have heard, it's said. Okay. It is actually a commandment. So I have to be truthful and say, Jesus knows this as well. And Jesus is saying, you have his commandment, you will not commit adultery. Okay. Let me go on just a little bit more, because this one, yeah, as you've seen, that verse is going to be hell thrown out too. So maybe I can get through. Okay, this will be the last one, but you know what's happening in the next video already. I say to you, everyone who looks at a woman lust for her has committed adultery with her already in his heart. No. Everyone who looks at a woman, excuse me. It's the seed energy of our body to create children. Our seeds have this energy that when people aren't facing one another, the energy is coming out the eyes. So when they're looking at each other, they look here. But as soon as they turn their back, where does people think they look? They look at the person's butt. Well, they aren't really looking at their butt. They're actually looking at the energy radiating from their seed area. So this thing of everybody who looks at a woman and lusts for her, this looking at a woman just to look at, and your eyes will distinctly go to where her seed is at. A lot of people don't understand that that's why everybody does this, male or female. So you learn something today about this energy. But everyone who looks at a woman and lusts for her, lust is like wanting to have sex with her. Well, the thing here is that's what this is replying to. It is not actually an act of committing adultery, okay? The act actually has to happen before it is committed adultery. So Jesus is saying that this, you're doing this in your mind. It is wrong, but it is not the true act of adultery. So these words are getting removed for that reason, that our Creator defined a male and a female is to share their love forever. Once they do this, they're never to be separated. Moses wrote the law about committing adultery and how to divorce. But the object is there is no text in the Hebrew side about this luster for committing adultery. Now, the thing here is when people are onto our Creator, their righteousness speaks for themselves, and this doesn't happen. Okay? Now, those that are not righteous, they do this, that they are going to heaven anyway. So the thing here is the text Jesus has been teaching about are about blessed people. A blessed, you these words here would not be done by the righteous, okay? But actually automatically your eyes will look at places. So I'm just saying that that's because of the energy, that we don't really see the energy, but we sense the energy. So that's where, like two magnets, okay? And then they stick together. That's kind of what's happening. Once through your eyes when you're walking forward, and then just radiating if they can't see your eyes. I'm removing this text and trying to tell you that the act of adultery has to take place. That is what is a sin, okay? If somebody says, well, Jesus is putting a new command here for us. I'm saying that if you're a righteous person, this already doesn't take place. If you do that and you're a righteous person, you automatically hold back yourself, and actually our Creator won't let you do that, or will give you that, like I keep saying, that the thoughts that are given to you always have a lower thought than the other thought. Don't take the lower thought. The more that you stay on the higher thought, the more you get closer to our Creator. But when a righteous person going through and doing this would know that the choices that they're taking keeps going lower. And when our Creator, you're really obeying our Creator, that sense of going the wrong way instinctively is given this, no, I'm not to do that. And then your thoughts get to the different level of what is good and what is not good. So this would be something that I'm just saying that I'm removing it from the text, okay? Because it's just not that this act here is not a true act. being done in your head, I'm sure that's what a lot of people do, but are they unto the Creator? No. So the thing here is once they become unto the Creator, this isn't done. So, okay, I'm going to stop here, and then I'm just going to continue right here with the next one. You can see that this is not going to make it either. And I'm not going to put up another review. These, like you see, this is one after another here. He's still talking. So I don't know how many more. I think there's like another 20 verses that he's teaching. So,